Good afternoon. This is Sue Van Gemmert. I'm working on the first segment of Cooking at Sea for VYC, and my partner in crime is Captain Ed Kutchma, who is going to be the chef. I am the sous chef, and what we are cooking today is called Tacos Greekos. It's a recipe by Ed Kutchma, and so it's a special recipe. So here we go with Vice Commodore Dave doing the filming.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Ed Kutchma, and we're going to be cooking Greek tacos, or I call them Greekos. And let's start with a French term, which is mise en place. And what that means is put in place. And you notice that we have a lot of ingredients here that would normally be, sequestered. But we've got them out so that we can reach them quickly. And that's a good point when you're cooking at sea. You want to get things done quickly. This is a one-pot meal. Has a number of ingredients, but it's still quick and easy. Okay, the heart of this meal is lamb. And what I've been doing with the lamb is I've been marinating it in a little olive oil and lemon. Now you can marinate it overnight or you can marinate it for a couple of hours, but about 1 hour, more than 1 hour is sufficient. I'm heating a pan, getting it nice and hot. And of course, we need to add the olive oil. And all the recipes say, wait till you see the olive oil sheen. So we'll be waiting now.
Go.
Okay, I just added a tablespoon of oil, and it seems to be shimmering right now. So that means the pan's good and hot. I'm going to add the lamb. The idea here is to get the lamb brown. That take about 5 minutes.
Wow, Ed, that smells just terrific.
Well, it's been cooking for about 5 minutes, and if you can see it, it's turning brown nicely. And what I'm going to do now is put it aside. And one of the key things that you have to do during this meal is you have to dissolve the brown bits that form in the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to pour a little wine in there and make sure that we get all those brown bits. A little more maybe. And then I'm going to take that juice and put it with the meat, and we'll get on to the next item to go in here. All right. Okay, I'm going to add another dose of olive oil. Pan's already pretty hot, so I can put in the next course here is onions. Have about a cup or so of onions. You know, the measurement of the ingredients is really not that important. It's get it in the ballpark is what you need to do. So we're going to let these onions soften, take a few minutes.
Yeah, I thought since we had cherry tomatoes and kalamata olives, we should have yellow peppers to make it pretty. And I don't like green peppers, but that's...
Wait a minute.
It's really important for a good tasting sauce. Don't have to use anchovy paste, but it pays off.
And Ed has a really interesting plan for his leftover tomato sauce, you see. You never waste anything on a boat. You don't just toss the rest of that can out. You take it by the tablespoon and put it into a plastic, baggie, Ziploc, zip it up, and freeze it.
Good idea.
Your very own.
Okay.
Just like a little wine in the pan is a good idea, a little wine for the chef is a good idea.
Okay, getting ready for the next step, which is to add the bullion.
Which is all ready to go.
Mixed up here. Okay. I'm going to add bullion to this, and what that'll do is continue to steam the onions, so they'll and the peppers, so they cook fully. All the flavors are mixing now. It's beginning to come together.
And this is Captain Ed's very own recipe, so we're looking forward to what it tastes like when it's done.
Okay, now I'm going to add the lamb back to the pot. It's been sitting aside while we've been cooking the vegetables, and stir it around. It needs to reduce a little bit. Once it reduces, I'm going to add some cornstarch and a couple of tablespoons of water. Be sure to mix the cornstarch with the water before you put it in. Otherwise, you get big lumps in the meal, and you don't want that. Okay, the next step is a little cornstarch that's with water, and the idea there is to form a nice thick gravy, and that's what we have almost immediately. That's great. Now, more stuff. Tomatoes that have been quartered, little cherry tomatoes, and about a half a cup of kalamata olives that are rough chopped. This part of the meal goes the cooking goes pretty quickly. What we're going to do now is add some spices. I've got some oregano and some cinnamon that I'm going to add. Oh, that's last. All right. We got the spices in there. Now is the time to taste it. The kalamatas add a lot of salt, so I don't add salt to it until later. They could use a little salt, wouldn't hurt. I don't like to sprinkle salt in it from a shaker. I prefer to put it in my hand, and now I know exactly how much salt I've added. And by the way, this is a coarse kosher salt. It isn't as salty as table salt, but it seems to be the salt to use in cooking. Turn things around. Now, last ingredient is about half a cup of feta cheese. And the meal is ready to serve.
So Captain Ed has finished the Greekos filling, and now I'm going to plate the Greekos for him. And it's going to be a little different than I would do if I had just cooked this afternoon after cocktail hour. Because we usually eat on paper, because we don't have a huge water supply on this boat for washing dishes and so forth. But the former owners, Captain Ed Kutchma and his lovely wife Barbara, left us these beautiful plates. So today we're going to use those. And another member of the yacht club, for our boat christening, gave us these beautiful napkins which she made. That would be Doris Levereau. And I'm going to use them in this instance on my husband's designed little table here as our placemats. So we're eating fancier than we normally would. This I will admit. But I think it's worth it. For the first segment, of Cooking at Sea with the VYC. So here we go with the plating and serving. Now there is one little caveat about the serving. So first of all, usually with pita bread, you try to serve it in the middle of the pita. It doesn't work out every single time, you know, the way you planned it sometimes just doesn't work. So here, this pita bread wouldn't part. So we're going to fill our Greekos just like this. And we're going to fold it. And we're going to lay it on its side and hope that it stays. And then we're going to add a bit of tzatziki on the side. Tzatziki is a wonderful, cool cucumber dressing that can go on your Greekos or just any place you want it. And I'm going to make a little, I'm going to tell you a little story. This is about going to the store and being very careful about what you buy for the ingredients for your recipes, especially if it's one you don't make every day. So last night I decided to make the tzatziki, which is cucumbers, yogurt, and some other ingredients. Anyway, I got it all together and it was beautiful. The texture was perfect, and I tasted it and it tasted like dessert. I had used vanilla yogurt. Fortunately, I did that last night, so today I was able to rip off at 8 o'clock in the morning, make it to Trader Joe's, and get some regular tzatziki, which is a very good way to provision your boat anyway. Trader Joe's is a great provisioner. All right, so we're going to add a little bit of that sauce over here, and we're going to add 2 dolmas as a little extra. Also from Trader Joe's, as I said, a great source. And I'm going to be adding paper napkins because that's what we use. So here we go. And here is our plated Greekos. And now we'll be eating. We will.
Yeah, you gonna have one
Well,
for the photographer?
Of course, if he wants one. It's really smells wonderful.
Beautiful. Okay, we have our meal here, but before we dive in, let me say a few words about kitchen equipment on a cruising boat. In my mind, if you notice, the frying pan we used was a big non-stick pan, excellent to have a pan like that. Another piece of equipment that I think is indispensable is a pressure cooker. Now, a lot of people are afraid of pressure cookers, but you know, if you're trying to conserve propane or if you're trying to cook a meal quickly, a pressure cooker is the way to go. I have a recipe to cook spicy tacos in 13 minutes. Throw the ingredients in the pressure cooker, put it on the stove. 13 minutes later, it's done. All in one pot, all in one fell swoop. Another item that I think is indispensable is a good knife. You're likely to cut yourself trying to work with a dull knife, so you need a good quality knife, and by the way, a way to sharpen it too.
Yes.
Lots more other things that can be used on a boat, but those kind of things, the three I mentioned, are in my mind very important.
Ed is
Okay.
also the person who does one dish cooking on a pan. So he likes to see you
Oh,
have a
yes,
flat pan that fits in your oven, and it is a very good thing to have if you're rocking and rolling and you don't want the stuff to fall off the stove. So he suggests a flat pan. You can put vegetables, meat on it.
Throw it
400
in the oven. 20 minutes later, the vegetables have a little brown on them. The meat is cooked, and you're ready to eat. It makes its own sauce too.
And the last thing that my husband Richard would never leave home without is his barbecue, and we do barbecue a lot, and I see a lot of people out there doing that. And then I have just one more thing to say, and that's about dessert. I suggest that you can get at Ralph's, abandoning Trader Joe's, you can get Tate's cookies. And these are wonderful, very thin cookies. They're come packaged in such a way that they don't get smushed on a boat. That would be the technical term. And I suggest you get the ginger ones. And that, they have nice big chunks of crystallized ginger. And here's the deal. Ginger is supposed to keep people or help people who have a proclivity for getting seasick. So you might need to break out these earlier than in the cruise than dessert, but you would have them on hand. Well, that's the end of this segment of Galley at Sea for VYC. We have another segment coming up in a sailboat. And so we hope that you will take advantage of seeing that. We hope you've enjoyed this. And in the meantime, bon appetit.
Absolutely.